Local coding LLMs on Apple Silicon. On Apple Silicon, model choice and architecture may matter more than raw parameter count. In a thread about coding on MacBook Pro M4 systems, 32 gigabytes and 48 gigabytes, practitioners nudged away from dense 14B reasoners toward mixture of experts, MoE coders. Qwen 3 coder 30B A3B was highlighted as both stronger and faster than similarly sized dense models, with one user noting you often need roughly 2 times the size before alternatives become competitive. Others called out GPT-S20B high reasoning mode as a smaller model that can trade blows with Qwen coder A3B, while a separate perspective complained Qwen 3 coder 30B felt fast but too error-prone for production needs compared to DevStrawl Small for web or Qwen 2.5 coder 32B for Swift UI. On Apple GPUs, a useful system tip surfaced. By default, macOS allows 75% of RAM as VRAM. You can raise the cap with sudo syscpu.wiredLimitBMB when you're on the edge of running something. Real-world setup friction also showed up at the orchestration layer. One developer running Qwen 3 models locally with Ollama through VS Codium's Continue extension reported agent tasks via Playwright MCP, Model Context Protocol, stalling across model sizes 8B to 32B, and asked if the extension was the bottleneck. Another reminder, MoE can be materially faster for a given parameter count because only a subset of experts activate per token, but tool use latency and orchestration overhead will still dominate if the agent spends most of its time waiting on browsers or scripts. Benchmarking cognitive performance isn't solved by a single leaderboard. Users pointed out the LM evaluation harness is heavy to operate and doesn't always reflect task fit. A practical alternative, OpenAI's evals framework, wired to local models via VLLM or text generation WebUI's API mode to build small domain-specific test suites that mirror your workflows. For factuality, retrieval-augmented evaluations help distinguish reasoning over provided context from recall and hallucination. Some go further, building bespoke CLI suites with tens of thousands of tests. Others lean on subjective, task-driven head-to-heads because at deployment time, task performance is the only metric that matters. Cheap alignment, lean infra. Preference optimization is getting cheaper. A minimal repo combining ORPO, reference model-free preference optimization, with LoRa adapters fine-tunes Hugging Face models without needing a separate reference model, closer to supervised fine-tuning in complexity, but with preference signals. LoRa trains a tiny set of low-rank matrices while freezing the base model, orders of magnitude fewer trainable parameters, so if you can run inference, you likely have enough compute to align your model. The author also found model souping, averaging checkpoints, helpful. What fits in 24 GB VRAM? A commenter estimated that full precision transformer training caps you around 4 to 8B parameters in practice on a 4090, but LoRa radically cuts memory by training adapters, ranks typically 16, making larger backbones practical for alignment. Another clarified O avoids training both policy and reference models, as in DPO, further reducing resource demands. The project's author promised generation examples shortly, useful to gauge practical gains in tool use and instruction following. On the lower levels of the stack, a Rust-native AutoGrad engine, SpiralTorch, offers a PyTorch-like API with Python 3.14 support via PyO3 bindings. It adds DP-optimized INSM, SegmentOps, logprod, and index reduce on top of an endarray-based tensor core and AGPL 3.0 or later licensing. The author invites performance testing and breaking from Rust and ML enthusiasts, an intriguing option for teams seeking safety, portability, or lower-level control than the usual Python-first stack. Faster, grounded computer use agents. If your agent must see the screen, model choice is a speed-accuracy trade-off. On the ScreenSpot V2 UI grounding benchmark, Salesforce GTA1 led in accuracy, 96% versus Moondream 3's 84%, but Moondream 3 was roughly twice as fast on average, 1.0 force versus 1.97 nets, and 2.5 times faster on the median, S versus 1.96. Both are open-weight, self-hostable, and plugged directly into Kua, a computer use agent framework. One commenter asked about Moondream's maturity and pointed at Qwen Vision models. Another flagged interest in Ollama plus Vulkan for easy deployment. If your workloads are time-sensitive, Moondream 3's latency advantage may outweigh the last mile of accuracy. If precision is paramount, GTA 1 claims the crown on this benchmark. Users struggling with slow tool use, like Playwright MCP, may be encountering infrastructure bottlenecks, not just model speed. A lightweight dynamic batching proof of concept, Batchy, lets you define max batch size and latency to fuse inference jobs across Unix domain sockets or TCP, while isolating invalid requests from affecting others in the batch. In settings where agents interleave bursts of short tool calls with reasoning, bounded latency batching can materially lift throughput without hurting responsiveness. Practical note, benchmark claims should be reproducible. If links are broken or models are still cooking, verify with the provided repos and your own evaluation harness to avoid surprises in production. On-device voices and multimodal creation. Offline voice cloning on Apple hardware is here for cautious users. Chinny is an iOS macOS app that runs an optimized chatterbox model fully on device. No network connectivity, models bundled 3.41 GB and about 3 GB RAM during inference. It supports unlimited text by chunking and stitching audio, is free and ad-free, and currently targets English only. The author says the base model's multilingual quality is weak. Improvements are planned for selected languages. The developer intends to open source the model and inference scripts. For real-time speech, VoxStream proposes a fully autoregressive, zero-shot streaming TTS pipeline designed for full-stream scenarios. Begin speaking from the first word without knowing the full sentence. It outputs audio in 80 millisecond chunks, runs faster than real-time with first packet latency on GPU, and needs about 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Despite just 9K hours of training, it claims quality matching or surpassing larger models trained on bigger datasets. It provides a CLI, Hugging Face Space, PyPI package, training scripts, and an MIT license, plus clear restrictions against non-consensual voice generation. At the long-form end, Microsoft's Vibe Voice uses continuous speech tokenizers, acoustic and semantic, operating at a very low frame rate, 7.5 Hz, to scale expressive dialogue, up to 45 to 90 minutes and 4 speakers, without blowing up computation. The stack marries a Qwen 2.5 LLM with a diffusion head that generates acoustic details token by token. The model limits to English and Chinese and explicitly builds in mitigations. An audible disclaimer baked into each output, and an imperceptible watermark for provenance. It's speech only, no music foley, and the team warns against misuse in impersonation or disinformation scenarios. Multimodal models that create both sight and sound are also moving fast. Ovi is a VO3-like text and image condition generator that outputs 5-second videos at 24 FPS with synchronized audio, targeting 720x720 area and multiple aspect ratios. It stitches together components from WAN 2.2 video and audio, offers config knobs for guidance scales and negative prompts, and provides single or multi-GPU inference and a Gradio UI. On the image side, Qwen Image Edit Rapid AIO merges accelerators, VAE, and clip to deliver fast Qwen image edit and text-to-image in FP8 with 4-step Lightning essay solver recommendations. It includes LoRa's to handle both SFW and NSFW cases. Powerful, but deployment contexts should be chosen thoughtfully. Safety, privacy, and platform risk. Platform risk remains real even for innocuous hosts. Statichost.eu was flagged as deceptive by Google Safe Browsing for roughly 6 hours, meaning users on over 5 billion protected devices saw aggressive warnings or outright blocks across the entire domain. Some custom domains hosted on the platform were reportedly affected. The operator got a phishing report list via Search Console, removed offenders, and requested review. The block was lifted within hours with an automated notice. Their takeaway: never serve user content on the same apex as your core product. Use a separate domain to contain collateral damage. Security failures are still surfacing at AI startups. A major security breach at Austrian startup localmind.ai was disclosed. Details were sparse, but it's another reminder to scrutinize data handling and incident response from providers, not just model quality. Safety guardrails can also bias behavior if not carefully placed. Users observed Anthropic's long conversation reminder, a mental health vigilance prompt, being appended to every user message, landing immediately before model generation. The recency effect can over-index the assistant toward pathologizing benign behavior. One user said it bricked several use cases. Another noted Sonnet 4.5 trips the warning quickly, while Sonnet 4 tolerates longer chats. An Anthropic mod suggested posting in R Claude Explorers for visibility. Local defenses continue to mature. A post on fighting email spam with LLMs emphasizes doing it privately on your own mail server, though one commenter noted the shared setup is for MailCow specifically. Given the privacy risks and potential liability of shipping inbox contents to third-party filters, local inference offers a pragmatic alternative. Developer workflow, tools, and tripwires. Rapid changes in open UIs bring both features and footguns. Users report that OpenWebUI v.6.33 hid OpenRouter direct models from the custom model selector and broke RAG routing, dumping knowledge-based contents into the main message and erroring out on 8 megabyte limits. Rolling back to v.6.32 restored behavior. Others echoed problems editing models and with local RAG models. If updating, pin known good versions and test custom integrations before rolling out across a team. For local hosting, a simple Alama management UI provides web control over models but ships without authentication. A companion passkey authenticator can reverse proxy any app and gate it with passkeys until first-class auth lands. Docker images are planned. Lightweight process improvements can pay off. A single pre-push prompt, act as a senior reviewer, and only flag behavior, contract, performance changes. Lets coding assistants auto-load the last commit diff and highlight risks before code leaves your machine. One commenter suggested running it at staged instead. Another noted you can still review and roll back AI-suggested fixes safely after commit. Small quality-of-life add-ons help too. Gitcasso brings syntax highlighting and autosave to GitHub's issue PR editor and other Markdown-friendly sites, by combining Highlight.js with Marked so you won't lose drafts again. And for Claude's code interpreter users, a Claude skills repo shows how to export the contents of /int skills, zip that folder, and run a prompt to document and reuse the environment's built-in skills. DIY cellular, useful, risky, fascinating. Retro cellular networking is possible at home, with caveats. Using a Nuon Blade RFX40 full duplex SDR, Yate BTS, a SIM reader, and a small PC, a tinkerer stood up a low-power 2G GSM base station. Old phones could call and text on assigned numbers, and even access the internet, slowly, through the PC's connection, resurrecting devices otherwise orphaned by 2G, 3G sunsets. The comment thread is a frank tour of the legal and RF risks. Even if the base station transmits only a few milliwatts, phones can still push 250 milliwatts at their lowest setting, detectable outside your walls, and carriers can triangulate interference. Some argued a local base station actually reduces interference compared to a phone screaming at full power with no tower. Others pointed out that causing interference, especially to emergency, military, or aviation bands, can draw serious penalties. Open-source BTS software has been temperamental. One commenter recalled OpenBTS crashing on SMS for years before stabilizing, so expect tinkering. Still, compelling applications exist, from re-enabling eCall-like systems orphaned by network sunsets to preserving classic handsets. The thread's bottom line, intellectually rewarding, but tread carefully and lawfully. Agentic AI in sports media. Agentic systems are quietly transforming media operations at scale. The NFL and AWS describe an agentic generative AI solution for searching petabytes of media, game footage, broadcast segments, digital clips, social content, for 184 million domestic and 100 million international fans. Traditional structured filters and click UIs are too slow for producers on deadline. Natural language agents now help media researchers and analysts retrieve the exact snippets they need for highlight packages and segments in time-sensitive workflows. The system shifts the unit of interaction from rigid catalogs to intent. Find plays where X shot from angle Y with Z call by the announcer, and assembles results across heterogeneous archives. It's a pragmatic deployment, measurable impact on search time, lower cognitive load for staff, and a template other media-rich organizations can adapt. It also echoes the technical patterns surfacing elsewhere in this roundup. Multimodal grounding, understanding vision and audio, agent frameworks, and infrastructure tuned for latency. The work suggests that in high-throughput, high-stakes production environments, agentic AI isn't a novelty. It's rapidly becoming the new baseline.